Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't been here before, well, maybe this is what got you here. My 1981 20 horsepower Johnson. Had the starter out of it before and played with it, cleaned it up, put it back together. Works on the bench, won't turn the engine over. Now this thing's been underwater more than once. And I got my helper in here today with me. That's Ash. And we're going to be taking this starter out of this machine again, or out of this motor again. And I'm going to see if I can do a better job at repairing it, I guess you could say. And failing that, I'm going to get some brush, or get a brush kit for it anyway, at the least. So the bugs are bad. They're going to get worse. So I'm going to try and get this done before we get attacked. So stick around and maybe we'll get something accomplished today. Who knows? Right, Ash? Maybe we'll get something done today? Hey, maybe we'll get something done? Maybe we'll do something really good? Oh, that's a good doggy. Oh, yeah, that's good doggy. Alright, so before I go through the trouble of removing the starter again, I'm just going to go through and check all of my connections. So I've got it hooked up to a battery right now, and I notice when I hit the starter button, nothing. So I'm just going to check for power at the solenoid here. To do that, we just got to find a good ground. Alright, so I've disconnected my power and I found out why I do not have power going to the cable, or to the machine, to the starter, because I have a broken cable right here. And it is green. Oh yeah, it's in really rough shape. So, maybe I'm just going to jump straight to here and here and we'll see if that starter works, because this could have been my problem the whole time. So sometimes, guys, intermittent starting problems may not be the mechanical starting issues. It could be as simple as cables. So let's get this jumped. So I'm just going to find a good ground here. Somewhere here. And I'm just going to jump it straight to the starter here. So that's pulling an awful lot of amperage. And it's still not turning over. Let's try on the solenoid side here. Yeah, so that's a fully charged battery I have there, deep cycle marine. So I'm going to summarize that this starter just doesn't have the oomph that it needs to get rolling. It seems like it starts out okay. Just to be sure, I'm going to put a booster on this battery. Okay, well, I've got a second battery. Let's try that. Still no luck, so we're definitely going to need to be taking this off. Okay, so we got the starter out, and now we're going to put it on the bench, and we're going to disassemble it. So as you saw, it does have enough torque to throw the drive up, and it kind of turns and then does one turn and stops once the engine reaches a compression stroke. What, you want to talk? You want to talk too? What do you want to say? I guess he's explaining how when the engine reaches the compression stroke, the starter doesn't have power anymore to rotate. So I'm going to pull that apart and see if there's something wrong. Ash. I can see the problem already. So it looks like we're going to be ordering a brush kit. You see there's a small little bushing in there. We got to make sure that's going to be clean because that rides in this shaft here. I'm just going to open up the armature and we're going to check for debris because we're going to make sure this is nice and clean inside of here. You can see there is some weathering and stuff. So I've had the starter apart in the past and I had cleaned all these guys and I put them back together. And the starter worked for a bit, then failed. So now I know why, because this brush was not even touching anymore or wasn't getting power. So it's definitely the issue there. I got good rotation on the upper bearing here. It's nice and loose. My Bendix is nice and loose here. It's all good. So we're going to get all of this cleaned up. I'm going to make sure this mating surface here is nice and clean. That's where the brushes make contact like so. And we're going to make sure that's all cleaned up. And I'm going to go shopping and see what we can get for a brush kit for this thing. Again, look at here. You guys can really see the damage or the rust that's on these. So no wonder it wasn't getting enough power. So a lot of times you don't have to replace the starters themselves. I know you can get them on Amazon for about $120 Canadian. And there are some changes you have to make. Apparently to some of them the Bendexes have to be swapped over, but I think in my case here, I think we're simply looking at a brush kit. Oh yeah, for sure. Look at that. All right. All right, it's a couple days later, and I just came back from, well, I came back from work, but coming back from work, I picked up a brush kit for this starter that we've been working on, and I think it's going to do the trick. Let's check it out. So here's what we got. So far, so good. So if you're looking for a brush kit for your Johnson or even a Mercury starter, I'm told that this is the one here. Here's the Sierra number right there. It should be a 7 actually. I don't know if you can see that there somewhere, but yes, Sierra. And we have here our main brush, which looks pretty good. And then we have our secondary brushes here. Also look good. Pretty big difference in the size of the brushes. You can see the wear. See the wear there. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's the new brush and there's the old brush side by side. Right there. And we have our springs. Springs are correct. And then we have our insulating washer for that guy. And I have this piece for the housing, which is good because mine was broken. And 2 jam nuts for the outside. So I think we're in business, so let's get putting this thing back together. Alright, so after I left you guys last time, you can see I did spend some time cleaning it up. I got it all cleaned, got all the rust off, made sure this contact surface on the back here was nice and clean. And I also cleaned up this housing, got that nice and clean as well, and cleaned out the bushing, and I put a little bit of light grease in the bottom there. You can see that in there. And I also cleaned up the housing, took all the rust I could out of it, and we're all set. Alright, so I just snap my bushing in. So I just got my little bushing in there, so just put that guy in there. And then we're going to be placing our brush holder in. It's indexed with the screws. I'm going to start by passing this stud through here first before I put the holder in, I think. See if that works. Well, I already see a problem, and here's my problem. Is that this stud is a little bit too long. See that? So that's an easy fix, because I cannot get that in now. That will not go into the bushing unless I push the bushing out first. Hang on, let's see. I almost stabbed myself. Alright, let's try it this way instead. Let's put this through here. Like so first. And, oh yeah, okay, there we go. That worked. Alright. Perfect. I'll lift those up. That sits in there nicely. Now we got to kind of wiggle our way around. But I think before I do that, I'm going to install this brush here. And again, we're making sure the wire's at the bottom of the brush. So that's one brush there, like so. And I guess this one's going to have to somehow pass. It's got to go over top, so I've got no choice there. Just going to go over top, and we're going to wrap it around this way. And that one's going to go there. And this one's going to go here. Like so, and then this one here is going to go on this side. It's mosquito season here in Northern Ontario. We just had our yard sprayed today for the first time, actually. And we're going to see how that works. So far so good, because last night the mosquitoes were unbearable and you're held hostage in your house when you live in a bush. That is a true story right there. Okay, so we got that done. So we're going to put our new washer on here like so. And then I believe we had, where is the new nuts? New nuts, here we go. I'm going to use the old nut here to tighten this guy on there like so. And I'm not going to use a whole lot of pressure on this guy here. So what size is that? 3/8 or no, it's 7/16, I think. Alright, so that's nice and snug so it doesn't move. And then we're going to have our new screw there. And we have our existing washers here. And those will be for the cables, because there's 2 wires on that one. So I think we're good there. Now we're going to get these brush holders tightened down. Now this is just an aluminum housing and a plastic piece, so we don't want to be. Hi-yah! Wow! Tightening. Oops. Just want nice and snug. All right, so we're good there. Spring there, and those are nice and springy. You're probably asking yourself, "Oh, how are you going to hold these down when you try and put that together?" That's the tricky part, and it's a real pain in the butt. But I have a trick for that. But first, let's go check on the dog, because I haven't seen the dog in about 10 minutes. So. If I lose that dog, my wife's gonna kill me. Yeah. Panic look. Well, there you are. Where were you hiding? Hey? Where were you hiding? What were you doing? Were you in the bush? Were you in the bush? Hey? Were you in the bush? Well, here you go. Here, this is for being a good dog. That's for coming back. You gotta sit. That's for coming back when I called you. That good boy. That good boy. Alright, we're safe. He's only 15, 16 weeks old, that little double doodle, whatever you want to call him, but at least he comes most of the time when you call him, or at least he comes to you. He hasn't run away yet. Hope not. Okay, let's get back to this. Well, make myself a little tool to put those brushes back in. We're just going to trace a circle. You need something that's fairly stiff. I'm not sure if cardboard is going to work or not. We're going to give it a shot. Okay, so we got our piece cut, and we have our bolts indexed in here, because like I said, you have to index this a certain way. I'll pull this apart for you guys. If you see here, so we have the magnets that are really close to the top, and then we got the big space. So if you forget how this goes in, the magnet on the top is going to be on the top of the starter, and that's because the magneto here runs in there. So don't pinch your fingers. And if you see these spacings right here, these are for your bolts. So you got to make sure these bolts are indexed approximately where it has to go. Trying not to pinch myself. And so that's about the correct spot there. Let's see here. So right there is about correct. So that's good. So we're going to set that aside. And pull that bolt out of there actually. Now this is the more tricky part, is trying to hold down the brushes while getting that back together. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we have made this little tool right here, because this little tool is going to help us hold the brushes in. And then this piece here, we want to make sure it doesn't get pinched. So this is going to help us hold the brushes in like so. Now, I don't think this is going to be strong enough. I could be wrong. Let's see what happens here. And again, I want to make sure this one's not getting pinched. This long one doesn't get pinched in between the housing. I don't know how that was supposed to run in back of there, because that does not fit back there, but I gotta check this out, because I don't think this wire goes over top. Give me a minute. Alright, let me explain to you what I've done here. So what my concern was actually was the power wire going over top of the ground wire. and it getting pinched in between there because there wasn't any room to stuff it in there like so. And the reason for that is because the old brushes have a flat, very flat spaded or very flat terminal with no edge on it, whereas these replacements have a step on them, and the step was coming up like so, pushing this wire up. So all I've done is I've taken this brush, this ground brush out, and I flipped it around so that the step is at the bottom, and I just made sure with a screwdriver that it was pushed downwards like so. And now I have room to tuck my positive in like so. Can you guys see that? So now I know it's not going to get pinched, and it's going to be just as well. It's going to be the perfect spot for the brushes. It won't be sticking up. So yeah, this is just way too flimsy. I'm gonna have to find something a bit stiffer. All right, here's my clutch pulling tool for my Can-Am that I just bought. So we're going to repeat the process, but I'm going to leave myself a little tang that I can pull out on the other side this time. And we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to cut out another piece here. And I have my middle here. And I'm going to leave myself a piece like so to pull out. I'm just going to make sure it rotates properly. That ground is good there. That's some serious torque. Watch you don't touch the ground. Okay, well that's let's take that off of there. Ha ha ha. Doesn't feel too good anymore though. That feels tight. Okay, well. That is too tight now. What is going on? Hey, this channel is all about failure and trying stuff, right? Something is not right. I'm not clocked correctly, or I don't think it has to be clocked in any certain direction, but we're going to start over here. I'm going to disassemble it again, and then we're going to reassemble again. This time, keeping an eye out for indexing and see if there's anything to index. Something I didn't notice when I was taking it apart, maybe. So I won't bore you guys with this part. Alright, so I got it back together, and it turns out that there is some indexing. So on this particular starter, there is actually a line right here, and there's an embossment on the housing, so I had to line that up. So that worked out well. And the bottom didn't seem to have any indexing, just as long as the other pieces over here. And I was making sure that my wire, which is going to go here like so, and there like that, just to make sure that I'm over at my solenoid here, so that this is not reversed by accident or sideways or anything. So we're looking good, so we're just about to give it a try, and let's see what happens now. So I got my ground on. Well, I think that is successful. It is definitely not hot anywhere like it was a while ago. Staying nice and cool. So this is ready to go back on. I'm just going to make sure that everything's tight. Again, we're not over tightening these guys right here because this is just aluminum, so as snug as you can make them. And I think we are ready to throw this back on the boat motor thingamabobber. There we go. There's our rebuilt starter. Okay, we've got everything back together, so I've done a temporary repair on these wires until I can get some. I'm not going to keep it like that, I don't think. So starter's back in, pretty simple. Upper bolt here, nut on this side, this bolt right here. Then I got my solenoid back in. So we got the power wire right here. This goes to the switch, and then we got the power wire, the live feed on the solenoid here. So this is always live when the battery's connected. And then opposite side on the bottom nut down here, this is the ground side, and then this is the positive side for the other side of the switch. And then of course this goes to the battery, and there's our ground for the block there. So we're all ready to hook this up. I just grabbed the battery, I put it right over here. I worked on the bench, so hopefully it turns the motor over. Let's check it out. Well, another happy ending to another little story. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's pretty simple disassembly, so I mean, just goes to show you that sometimes when things fail, you know, you can take it apart and repair it. That wasn't too expensive. Now I noticed I could buy a starter on Amazon. I think it was $120 starting. There was so many of them. I opted with the brush kit because it was only $33 Canadian, and maybe 2 hours of my time. So I saved myself over $100. I think it's well worth it, plus the experience of playing with stuff in the garage and taking it apart, and not to mention the fact about feeling good after you repair something. So, you know, your family thinks you're amazing as well. So, you know, that's kind of another really good point. So again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Come back, check out some other videos next time you're here, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh yeah. Please don't forget to subscribe. It costs you nothing and it helps me out a ton. So we'll talk to you guys later.